25th of March, 2016. Neil Keenan here, and bringing you up to date. It's been a while since I've been here. Chemtrails has been banned in Rhode Island, the smallest state in the Union in the United States. My state has decided to take a stand and ban chemtrails. You can Google it. You can read a lot about it right there on Google. It's done. They're the first. Everybody should follow. Barium, aluminum, chromium, nanoparticles, whatever they're putting in the chemtrails, they're all poisonous and all lethal to our beings. We don't need this anymore, any longer. We don't need to allow the 1%, if you want to call them that. We don't need to allow the UN. We don't need to allow foreign entities decide our fate or the world's fate. We need to take our own fates into our own hands. Thank you, Rhode Island. Thank you, Providence. Thank you to all the boys. And God bless you. I know you wouldn't let us down. Thank you. Now, you know, the Donald Trump situation is strange, and you know, I'm not going to tell you what you probably already know, but I'm going to rehash it for some who don't know. Okay, I've been gone for about a month, remember. Okay, and I've had this sticking in my craw, but yet I didn't want to come on here when I wasn't feeling my oats. Okay, I couldn't feel my oats. Anyway, no matter how many votes you give Trump, and you better give him a lot, because he's the only one that can get us out of this crap that they put us in. Okay, no matter how many votes he gets, the Republican Party is claiming if he doesn't make that magic 1,270 something number or 90 something number, they can decide for themselves who will be the Republican nominee, not the people. Doesn't matter what you want, how many votes you put in, according to them. Now, if that's the case, you know, they should start investigating Trump's people, Iowa, Texas, especially Utah. So I understand Utah was a complete fraud, seeing they used the George Soros machines and so on, and Soros was involved again. Soros. You got your fingers in everything, it seems, those old, feeble fingers. And I honestly believe that soon you're going to be grabbed by your neck, your little chicken neck, and you're going to be dealt with properly. You can't keep running forever, and you won't be protected forever. You're going to fall into the wrong hands, and when you do, say bye-bye. Say bye-bye, because people are fed up with your Hungarian bullshit. It's not Hungarian goulash when it involves you. It's Hungarian bullshit. Okay, you can take your boys with you, because they'll be going next. You understand? I hope you do. I'm not afraid. I don't think anybody's afraid any longer. Okay? We got to get the old ass out of our picture once and for all. The worldwide picture has to be deprived of one George Soros. There's many others too, but during our elections, he puts his nose into our elections with that, oh man, forget about it. Just get rid of them. Get them to do the homework on the Utah election, the Texas election. You'll find out that Trump more than likely won, from what I understand. I understand a little bit that went behind the scenes, and geez, I saw the Utah voting, and it couldn't be when you saw that Trump had so many people in his corner there. And I mean, they were even questioning if the Republicans would lose control of Utah, a Mormon state with Romney. And it was neck to neck, and all of a sudden it was 70% to 30%, or even less. It's something we've got to look at. We can't allow it to happen in our country. Okay, it's a shadow government, as we know. You know, they're all coming out. You can see who they are now. They're screaming, they're shouting, they're bringing their money out. They're throwing it in for Cruz, or they even like Cruz, and they hate Cruz. Right now they like him. They like him, and Cruz is not going to do them any favors, but Cruz is not the guy that Trump is. Cruz is still part of the Goldman Sachs English ballgame, City of London ballgame. Okay? And Rubio was part of the ballgame as well, of course. He was their boy. But they come out now. You can see them. You can see them coming out. You can see them screaming. They're putting their names in the papers even. They can't handle Donald Trump. And you know something, that's what we want, someone they can't handle. Donald Trump doesn't owe them a dime. And that's the key. They'll do anything they can do to prevent them. They cannot afford to lose their cash cow. Understand, they're financing the Western banks, the United States. We've been financing the Western banks, even some Asian banks like the Japanese. We've been financing them for a long time, throwing money into their accounts. But we take it out of there as well when we want. Because Rockefeller had control of that central bank over in Japan for a long time. I think that stopped. Benjamin can answer that question rightfully so this time. Okay, as for Jacoby, we'll get to that. So, you know, we've been paying their bills, basically, the Western banks. Everything that we put in through taxes ends up in the hands of the IMF. It gets filtered right throughout the Western Hemisphere. It goes into their banks. It keeps them afloat. We've been keeping them afloat for a long time. That's why we're in debt. Our money's been going to take care of every other place, except for those such as Asia. Okay? We're done paying. We should be done paying. Get rid of them. You know where they live? They're our Senate. They're our Congress. Get rid of them. Vote them out. If they even smell a little like they're turning a little rancid, get rid of them. That's what you do in the elections. I'm looking at the pages because it's been, like I said, going back quite a way here. Let's get to Jacoby in the Netherlands and Jacoby's alleged attempts to sell or his potential sales of the bunker gold. First of all, Jacoby is representing Indonesia. Okay. Before Jacoby, it was Sukarno who put this all together. It was about actually uniting the archipelago. Of course, West Papua at that time was called New Guinea. Okay, it didn't belong to Indonesia, but when the war was over with and Sukarno wanted to unite the Sumatra and every other place and tie it in, he also wanted New Guinea. He wanted New Guinea because it would unite the archipelago. It would be a good thing. It turned out to be a bad thing because so many people died because of it, because of the gold, especially the indigenous people. You had Freeport McMoran come in and do the agreements handling the gold, and of course Rio Tinto came in with the Kissinger group, and they they worked there and owned shares of Freeport McMoran, which is huge. Google them if you wish. They're big. They're on the Arizona border. And that story goes on. The agreement that they had with Sukarno was a very bad agreement for Indonesia. Even though they're the largest taxpayers in Indonesia, Freeport McMoran is they've abused their situation. And they took advantage of the fact that Sukarno wanted the New Guinea, and that he needed John Kennedy and he needed the United States to assist him. So that all ties in. So that what that means is the Dutch, who were in control of that property up until that point in time, and who didn't want to leave, left. They left their cash cow behind, which happened to be the gold. They did, and turned it over to the United States, which was Sukarno, to Indonesia. So now the archipelago was complete with Freeport McMoran and Rio Tinto running the show in West Papua, which, as you know and I know, that's the cabal. Now, the contract is expiring in 2020 and cannot be extended until 2019. They are requesting a 20-year extension. They want to do this now, not later. They want to do it now. But they can't. 2019 is the earliest they can do it. And Jacoby, doing the right thing for Indonesia, is looking for the best possible deal for the Indonesian government. And the best possible deal would be to go see the Dutch, who actually controlled this before anybody got their hands on it illegally. Well, not so illegally. Kennedy negotiated the deal for Sukarno. And he did a good job for Sukarno. They got the archipelago, but the bad guys came in and handled, which was then New Guinea. Matter of fact, 2 years before they even negotiated the final transaction of New Guinea to Indonesia, taking from the Dutch, they already had an agreement in place. So that's the quick story, is that it did belong to the Dutch. The Dutch weren't any gifts to the Indonesians, that's for sure, but neither have been the Americans or anyone else who have come in there. Nobody's been a gift or anything special. They've raped the place as well as they could, and they've killed as many indigenous people as they can, and they actually consider it a sport, and it's got to stop. I've met many indigenous people throughout Jakarta, and I've spoken to a few who spoke perfect English, and I mean, it's sad that we're still allowing it to happen today. Okay? So, now, what more can I say other than he's negotiating a better deal with the Dutch, is what he's doing. Okay? He's going to leverage his weight, his strength as being the president of Indonesia to get a better deal for the Indonesian people. Bravo, Jokowi. You do what you have to do. There is no tie into the P2 Lodge. How did the P2 Lodge tie into the Netherlands? Other than Queen Beatrice and the fact that she created the Bilderbergs. But how? With Jokowi. He's going over there to see the Dutch and to work a new transaction out, or a new deal out. And if it's better than Freeport-McMoRan, then I would think the Dutch would get it. But I would think also if it's better, he'll give Freeport-McMoRan a chance to come back. He's going to negotiate the best deal for his people. That's what he does. That's his job. He's a good guy. He's not selling out anybody with any assets in the bunkers in order to sell anything from the bunker. Okay? And Ben should know this, first and foremost, because he had a trunk that he couldn't sell because he didn't have the right people involved to begin with. Okay? Registration numbers are on that trunk. Those registration numbers are in the BIS. Okay? There's a depositor's name that goes in with the registration number. If it's not your name or you don't have the mandate for that package, you can't do anything. Nothing. So forget about it. Jokowi doesn't care about those bunker assets, really. He's been offered them on occasions. He's refused. So, what more can I say there? Jokowi's a good man. Now, just recently, and you'll probably laugh at this one, this guy Cameron Abdul Rakim Faili. Similar to Swiss Indo kind of guy. He said he's the royal family's consultant. He comes up on the internet, which, I really don't want to respond to this, but you've heard it all. Red dragons representing the royal families. He claims he represents the royal families. Royal families, for the red dragons, were the Western nobility, which wasn't true, of course, as you know. It was that guy, Bo. And in this case, he says royal families again, and he goes in and mentions the dragon families and so on. The golden dragons are the only ones that matter in that family, other than the green dragons, which are Iranians who have the cash. And by the way, they handle their assets very well. And they'd like to get to use their assets as well, but the West hasn't allowed them to use them to date. See, and they created the Western financial system, which takes care of things when they did the Bretton Woods Agreement. Okay, the IMF, the BIS, all these things that have been set up, all in order to steal everybody else's assets. World Bank. Well, what do you need to know? I mean, this guy here goes on and talks about things. Actually, he had some interesting things. He caught my attention. I said, whoa. This is pretty good. And then all of a sudden, he talks about Bretton Woods, and they've had control of the assets since Bretton Woods. Bretton Woods Agreement, my friend, is null and void. You understand? They can't touch those assets any longer. Those assets are frozen. You do not need to tell any elders to come to you for advice. You're nobody. You're not part of this package. You're a newbie who wants to enter the game because the other guy didn't get too far. Actually, he got far, but the name Swiss Indo went to hell real quick. Okay? And the Committee of 300 you're saying is out now and somebody else is... Let me tell you something. That's the West. The West doesn't own the Eastern money. The Eastern deposits are in the name... those deposits in the global accounts that come from the East are in the names of the depositors. Okay? And depositors just so happen to be the Golden Dragon family. In 85% of the cases. You're out of the picture, my friend. You know, show us the papers. Show us the papers. Show us this, show us that. Stop talking. We're all tired of hearing you talk. You come out of nowhere. You make like you're something. You're nothing. You're going to try to steal. We're not going to allow it. You understand? We're not going to allow it. So, anyone who would listen to this guy, Cameron Abdul Rakim Fairley, or you looked at his document, which he didn't write himself. Okay? He didn't write it. Somebody wrote it for him. It stinks, it smells, and it doesn't belong in and it doesn't belong on the internet because it's fraud. Okay? Cameron, what can I say? You're in the wrong game, at the wrong time, with the wrong people. Maybe 100 years ago you might have been able to get away with this bullshit. Today you can't. Now, we're getting close to the end. I put it on paper, what I wanted to say. Not say, but just the notes, that so I didn't forget anything. We just went through a bad time. We did. You know, the airport in Brussels, they blew it up. They bombed it, basically. And who bombed it? That's a good question. You know, they caught all the people in Moscow. Am I right? All of them now. They claim they caught all the people now, but it reminds me of the Boston Marathon, when they got those two brothers, and it turns out that the brothers weren't the killers. They're not the ones who did the bombs, but they're dead. One killed in jail, I think the other was killed somewhere else. I'm not too sure. Anyway, so this here we're talking about the bombing, but just a couple of days before that explosion took place in the Brussels airport, I mean, the RVs were set to be released in Iraq, the Iraqi dinar, the new dinar. It was all set to happen. It's going to be a new world, basically, for a lot of you people who are holding dinars. What did they do? They blew up the airport. They blew it up to prevent that from happening on a major scale. It's what they did when they had to pay back the gold, or have to return the gold, according to the World Bank, not World Bank, The Hague, when they lost their the U.S. lost their lawsuit. When they lost their lawsuit, and The Hague said return the gold to its rightful owners, they had until, what was it, November 12th to turn 9/10. No, it was not September 12th to return the assets or the gold to China. And what did they do on the 11th? They blew up the world towers, okay, the Twin Towers. They blew them up. That's what they did to prevent having to pay then. This time, if the dinars are released, they lose one hell of a lot, as you know and I know. And they stopped it by blowing up. And they'll do anything to prevent it from opening, apparently. Because now it's been canceled for the time being, and there'll be a new date for release, but they would have been released by now. They would have been released, and within a week after that would the historical assets would be released. Just so you know, then they wouldn't be released; they'd be bought, they'd be redeemed. The historical, but not all. Well, the Federal Reserve notes and so on. The cabal, which has been running our government, has written too many or printed too many of them, and they're only going to get a small percentage of their value. because they're only paper. They don't have any gold backing. It's fiat. But on the other hand, that might also be the collapse of the dollar at that point in time. So you have to understand what's happening. Okay? It wasn't about a satanic holiday, and they did that because of the satanic holiday and of the deaths and ISIS and all that. It was all about the dinar. You understand, Oscar? They made you think one thing, and they did another, as always. And I'm sorry it happened because so many of you people have been depending on it. Now, Dr. Drew at the Global Healing Center in Houston is by far the best natural, alternative medicine physician in the world. Okay, in the world. He's that good. I actually call him my personal physician in many ways, because when I have a problem I call him and tell him what it is, and he sends me something and I get better. He's the one who put together those anti-poison kits for me in Indonesia, saved my life 5-6 times. I've had friends in Canada purchase things from him because they had personal problems as well, and they picked the right item apparently without talking to him, and they're better. They're better. Dr. Drew is the person that makes things better for us. He's a great guy too, on top of it all. So, Dr. Drew, thank you again. It's been my pleasure knowing you, and we're going to have a long, long relationship with what we do. There's no question about that. You're a great guy. Anyway, and I will speak to you next week. Now, let's go further. The bank, as you know, the accounts were stolen and so on. Nothing has happened yet. Nothing. The arrests have been made, and I will prosecute. I will. It's taken time, and that's all I can say, really, regarding that right now, without saying too much. Okay, I'm sorry I even mentioned it. The bad guys are coming forward with funding. Too many bad guys. I have to be careful, like we say, that we don't want a Trojan horse in our home, because when I do get the assets, and we do open up those accounts, we want to make sure that those accounts, without a war, can be used for the good of mankind. We need to make sure. If the fox gets into the hen house and I'm not around, we're in big trouble. So I have to avoid that. I mean, I've had someone walk in offering me $4 billion. And it's not a lot of money when you compare what's on the other side. But it's a lot of money, period. And it's enticing. But, you know, it's only money. It's only money. We'll get by that, and we'll get the things opened the right way. If there's a good person out there, we'll use that. If not, we'll wait for my funds to come. Okay? One way or the other, we'll get it done. One way is the long way, one way is the short way. The long way is going to entail many more problems, because many more people will be trying to sneak in, slide in, and take what rightfully doesn't belong to them. Okay? It's that. We'll be fine. The way I see it, I'm working my backside off. Never had a backside to begin with that big, so it's how I'm working it off. Now, hopefully some good guy comes forward, the way I'm looking at it. We put together some packages and so on, which our people will be getting out, you know. Rob, Rich, Mark, Richard. Rich, when I say Rick, I meant Rick. Richard, Jeannie, Kevin, Roger, Nazco, you know, Drake. They're all been great helps. Great helps. That's you, by the way. Hey. All been great helps in putting these things together over the last couple of years. And now we're finally getting to the end of the game, and we must finish it. And we have to do the right things. Some people will be leaving us, I see. In the near future, when the funding comes, they get their own families to worry about. So they won't be assisting me in the things that we've been talking about. But mostly only one person is leaving. Mostly everybody will be staying. And the one person is made it a little more difficult for us, but it doesn't matter. We'll keep everything the way it should be. Happy. I'm finding everything to keep everybody happy. And now getting to the other thing, the police secret weapon is now on the move. It's on the move. It's moving stateside, and what a weapon it is! Wow, 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 unbelievable. But I can't talk too much more about that other than wow, 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 wow. So you know, it's resting. That weapon is resting, getting all its rest, all the rest it needs, and hopefully it'll be moved up to where it'll be within my grasp in the very near future. That'll be better. It'll be better when I know where it is, and that is safely in my hands. That'll be good. So there's not much more to say. I mean, I don't know when I'm leaving yet. We worked on the packages. We were up until all night. The boys were up all night and the girls were up all night. Isabel, thank you so much for your help as well. Just everybody's working. Everybody's making the effort to get this thing over with. We know what we have to do. I have to get there. I have to have the funding. I'll get it myself, like I said, if we don't get it through any other way. And I'm still working to get it myself, just so you know. You know, as you know, I'm hot-headed, I'm stubborn, and I'll say no. Somebody said I have a hot head. This is called the shillelagh, an Irish shillelagh. This is the hottest wood in the world. And you know something, this is hot. I don't think my head's this hot. I just don't think so. This thing would put a hole in my head right over here. It would put a hole in my head. Forget about it. Black thistle wood, this is. It's hard. Damn, I'd like to have a table made out of this. It's really nice. You know, the knolls in it. And boy, it could be nice. But anyway, the big shillelagh is on its way. The big walking stick, I'll use that. So, when I'm walking, if I have a problem, I don't have to go into any pockets anywhere to pull out this big thing. Because, you know, when this is in my pocket, people are thinking something's wrong. And I'll get the big shillelagh, and I'll use that as a walking stick, which can turn into also a baseball bat, should I need it. Or a polo stick, or anything else it could be. But I wish you all well. It's going to get to be wild and woolly, I know. The elections are wild and woolly. What's happening to Trump is unfair. What happened in Belgium at the airport is unfair because you've waited long enough. Everything's unfair. And when you tie in all the dots, it goes back to the same damn people. You know, this guy Soros is all over the place because he's got all the money. The Rothschilds just finance him. You do the job, George, and we'll sit back and we'll watch you. And George doesn't give a shit who he hurts. But now, I think the people should not care about who they hurt. Find that guy. Find him. Find him. Put a bounty on his head. Yes, well, I'd like to also thank my Irish druid for his help. He's been on the money, and things we knew, some things we didn't know. And Dean, thank you for yours as well. And we're all done. We've got our help. We've got people in place. We're finishing up. We're finishing up. You know, we've been going through this for a while now with everyone, and but let's just get to the goodbye. It's over with for now. We've all been waiting too long. It's been unfair what's happened to everybody over the past period of time. And I want to say again, thanks to Richard and Rick and Mark and Jeannie and Kevin and oh boy, and everybody else, including, who am I forgetting? Roger, Nazco. I mean, thank you all, and Drake, and thank you all for your help, Drake. Drake's always helping, and man has more knowledge than most people. He's forgotten more than most people will ever know, and he's smart. And Grammy J, behave yourself. I'm getting word that you're misbehaving. And everyone else, just take care and God bless you. And I talk to you all soon. Okay? I don't want this thing to click off again. Just bye bye for now. Talk to you later. God bless. And we'll see what happens, okay? We should have it. Bye-bye.